Breaking news today. Donald Trump insists he has never visited Epstein's island, despite his name appearing in the files. As both parties evade giving clear answers, Americans are calling for more than just denials. Full transparency is urgently needed.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
CIFA reports that Donald Trump denies ever visiting Epstein's island. An interesting assertion given the frequent calls to simply accept the official narrative and move on. The American public deserves more than a straightforward denial. Merely stating "I never went" does not suffice when one's name is linked to a major scandal. Transparency has been lacking from both political parties concerning Epstein's case. The previous Democratic administration, led by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, promised accountability, but delivered only evasion and secrecy. Meanwhile, the media, which had long overlooked Epstein's ties to influential figures, now focuses on the truth of one man's statement amidst numerous unresolved issues. The persistent efforts by powerful individuals to conceal these files raise critical questions. Why does the Department of Justice, influenced by deep-seated interests, withhold the complete story? Why are we expected to trust institutions that have previously deceived us whenever we seek the truth? This issue extends beyond Trump or a single location. It reflects a system that shields the elite while penalizing those who dare to question. To rebuild trust in our government, we must insist on total transparency, regardless of the potential embarrassment to any individual. Full disclosure is essential for a nation that prioritizes truth over political expediency. Let the show begin.
Now, fast forward to 2020, Ghislaine Maxwell gets indicted in the Southern District of New York, a different part of the Justice Department. And Maxwell has argued both at the trial court and the Court of Appeals that that deal DOJ made back in 2008 benefits her. It says she can't be prosecuted if DOJ says she's one of the co-conspirators. However, DOJ's position up until now, including now, has been that that deal was only binding on the prosecutors in Florida, not on prosecutors in New York, and that that kind of deal, releasing co-conspirators, is basically invalid because it's so much against public interest. So judges have ruled against Maxwell at the trial court level and at the Federal Court of Appeals level, and now Maxwell is down to her last hope, which is trying to get the U.S.
The Justice Department's assertion that the non-prosecution agreement from Florida does not protect Ghislaine Maxwell in New York highlights a troubling pattern of selective enforcement and legal maneuvering that has frustrated Americans across the political spectrum. Courts have consistently agreed with the DOJ, stating that the Florida deal was not intended to bind prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, and that granting such broad immunity to alleged co-conspirators would be against public interest. This inconsistency and lack of transparency in our justice system become even more concerning in high-profile cases involving elite networks. The Epstein saga, plagued by secrecy and institutional protectionism, only deepens public suspicion. The refusal to unseal key documents in Maxwell's defamation case, despite orders for individualized review by the Second Circuit, suggests that the extent of elite involvement is being hidden from the public. Americans rightfully demand the release of all Epstein-related files, not just those selectively deemed politically convenient. The Justice Department's hesitation, despite bipartisan demands and campaign promises, erodes trust in our institutions and hints at ongoing protection of powerful interests. While Republicans in Congress have pushed for subpoenas and greater transparency, Democrats have been less proactive. The previous administration made no significant efforts to enhance public access to the truth, and it is commendable that the current House leadership is calling for genuine accountability, not only for Maxwell, but for all involved in Epstein's network. The American public deserves to know the beneficiaries of these deals and the government officials who permitted them. There is a significant risk in politicizing this issue. Both parties have been remiss in fully disclosing the truth about Epstein, and dismissing legitimate concerns as mere conspiracy theories only exacerbates public distrust. Maxwell's appeal to the Supreme Court underscores the complex web of backroom deals and selective prosecution that has characterized this case. While the DOJ's stance that the Florida deal was never meant to protect Maxwell may be legally justified, it does not relieve the department of the duty to clarify how such an expansive agreement was approved. The core issue is not about Maxwell finding a loophole to evade justice, but whether the American people will receive the transparency they have been promised. Until every document is unsealed and every connection exposed, there will remain a pervasive suspicion that the justice system prioritizes protecting the powerful over serving the public interest.
She got a 20-year sentence. She's about 5 years into that sentence, and she's in her mid-60s. The other way she could get relief, or there's really two main ways. One is to hope for a pardon or a commutation, and we've seen various comments made by the president refusing to rule that out, saying he hasn't thought about it. But
the possibility of clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell has ignited a heated debate across the United States, not just within Congress. The president's hesitation to dismiss the option of pardon or commutation, though constitutionally valid, has sparked widespread speculation and discontent. Some Republicans suggest using commutation as used to uncover more about the Epstein network. Speaker Johnson has vocally opposed this, deeming Maxwell's 20-year sentence too lenient and insisting she deserves life imprisonment. The stance aligns with many Americans who view her crimes as egregious and her current punishment insufficient. Interestingly, there is a noticeable division within the Republican Party itself. While some view clemency as a means to enforce transparency, others, like Speaker Johnson, argue it would undermine the gravity of Maxwell's offenses. On the other hand, Democrats have remained largely silent, showing little initiative in pushing for transparency or accountability, a stark contrast to their predecessors' reluctance to release relevant documents. This debate unfolds amid growing public distrust in elite institutions of the justice system, with a clamor for full disclosure of all Epstein-related documents. Yet, the Department of Justice hesitates, and the opposition appears reluctant to pursue genuine accountability. The broader issue at hand is whether the current system grants excessive discretion and executive clemency, especially concerning high-profile criminal networks. This concern has prompted calls for reform, such as congressional oversight or restrictions on clemency in specific cases, getting support particularly among conservatives and libertarians wary of unchecked executive power. This situation also underscores a widening gap between Washington insiders who challenge entrenched interests and those who remain silent or complicit. The Republican-led initiative for subpoenas and document releases sharply contrasts with the inertia on the Democratic side. As elections near, voters are keenly observing which party truly champions transparency and justice and which prefers to shield the powerful.
How could Maxwell's interview the other day with the Justice Department's Deputy Attorney General factor into what we are seeing happening next?
Well, I think the play we're going to see from Maxwell's team is obvious and the right play from any defense lawyer's perspective, which is to make an argument to DOJ. Look, she has now come forward. She has given you valuable, truthful information. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that'll be what Maxwell's attorney said.
Maxwell's recent interview with the Deputy Attorney General represents a classic defense strategy, recommended when overwhelming evidence and public scrutiny corner a client. Offering valuable and truthful information in exchange for leniency is a common tactic, but its actual benefit to the Department of Justice, DOJ, and the American people remains questionable. Maxwell was granted limited proffer immunity, allowing her to speak to federal investigators without her statements being used against her, under strict conditions. This type of immunity, while common in federal cases, offers no blanket protection and does not ensure any future deals. CNN's coverage of these developments has been mixed. The network accurately reports the legal strategies at play and the DOJ's cautious engagement. It tends to overlook Maxwell's credibility issues, including her conviction for serious crimes, refusal to plead guilty, and a history of perjury, factors that seriously undermine her reliability as a witness. Instead of portraying the interview as a potential breakthrough, it would be more appropriate for the coverage to reflect the prosecutors and public's justified skepticism about Maxwell's statements. Where CNN succeeds is in highlighting the challenges of corroborating any information Maxwell provides. Due to the age of the alleged conduct and the lack of independent evidence, the emphasis on the drama surrounding high-level DOJ meetings and Maxwell's legal maneuvers often overshadows the substantive weaknesses of her position. A more focused approach on what Maxwell knows that the DOJ does not, and the reasons for skepticism towards her credibility, would enhance the quality of reporting. CNN's coverage also lacks critical examination of the DOJ's motives for engaging with Maxwell, given her dubious reliability and previous statements by the DOJ itself. This engagement raises concerns about whether it is more about managing political fallout than achieving justice. This is particularly relevant considering ongoing congressional efforts to subpoena Epstein's estate and release financial records, which could provide more tangible results than Maxwell's contributions. From a defense lawyer's perspective, Maxwell's team is leveraging the only strategy available, asserting her cooperation and the value of her information to persuade the DOJ to offer a deal. The DOJ has already identified her as a compromised witness. Without her admission of perjury and provision of independently verifiable evidence, her cooperation is unlikely to be impactful. CNN could enhance its reporting by rigorously fact-checking Maxwell's purported value as a witness, providing more context on the limitations of proffer immunity, and questioning DOJ officials about their rationale for these discussions, given Maxwell's track record. The public deserves an analysis that prioritizes clear, factual reporting over dramatic visuals and speculative commentary. This episode highlights the broader issues of selective enforcement and elite impunity that have marred the Epstein investigation from its inception. Until all relevant files are released and every connection scrutinized, the public's skepticism towards Maxwell's motives and the system that enabled these crimes to continue will remain well-founded.
Of her crimes, and this is what he said yesterday.
If you're asking my opinion, I think 20 years was a pittance. I think she should have a life sentence at least. I mean, think of all these unspeakable crimes, and as you noted earlier, probably 1,000 victims. I mean, you know, it's hard to put into words how evil this was, and that she orchestrated it and was a big part of it. At least under the criminal sanction, I think is an unforgivable thing. So, again, not my decision, but I have great pause about that, as any reasonable person would.
Now, the Oversight Subcommittee actually voted on a series of subpoenas last week.
The economic repercussions of recent judicial outcomes like Ghislaine Maxwell's perceived lenient sentencing for serious crimes are stark. Such cases erode public trust in the justice system, leading to tangible financial impacts. Investors particularly attuned to these high-profile cases perceive that the influential may dodge full accountability, unsettling markets, especially those related to legal compliance and corporate governance. This distress extends beyond Wall Street. It prompts everyday Americans to become more conservative with their spending and investments, slowing down major purchases and delaying retirement contributions, which in turn dampens economic growth. This scenario sends a disconcerting message to families and small business owners who are already contending with inflation and regulatory challenges. Observing these double standards, they question the fairness of the system and whether it truly safeguards their interests. This skepticism often results in reduced consumer confidence, a crucial economic driver. Feeling that the odds are against them, people hesitate to take risks, such as starting new businesses or investing in their communities. Also, the push for transparency, notably by Republicans in Congress, who are subpoenaing Epstein's estate and demanding complete financial disclosures, aims not just to quell public curiosity, but to uncover the networks and financial flows that facilitated these crimes. Successful transparency efforts could establish a precedent for accountability, reassuring both domestic and international investors of America's commitment to the rule of law. This is vital as global markets examine the integrity and predictability of American institutions. In the financial sector, the uncertainty about the extent of Epstein's network and the government's resolve to address it introduces volatility. Financial entities like banks, hedge funds, and multinational corporations are keenly observing whether the administration will fulfill its promises to release all Epstein-related files, or if political agendas will overshadow the need for transparency. Previous administrations' hesitance to disclose these records has only fueled suspicion, undermining investor confidence globally. Households also feel the impact of these scandals. When such issues dominate the news, consumer sentiment often declines as families worry about undisclosed secrets and their potential effects on the economy. This concern reaches beyond political circles, touching everyday financial decisions from mortgage rates to college savings. Looking forward, the handling of these congressional subpoenas and the administration's response will significantly influence both the political and financial landscapes. If the system appears capable of self-reform, restoring transparency and accountability, public confidence might recover. If it seems that justice is disproportionately influenced by wealth and power, the long-term consequences to our economic and civic structures could be severe. And there you have it. After all the noise, denials, and headlines, let's face facts. The American people are not naive. When individuals like Jeffrey Epstein navigate the upper echelons of society, gathering secrets and favors, we have a right to know who is involved and the extent of the corruption. President Trump has denied ever visiting Epstein's island, and while his name appears in the files, mere denials are insufficient. The previous administration, led by Biden and Harris, is accused of obscuring the truth to protect their allies. Now, with the new administration in power, we have the opportunity to pursue transparency in ways the Democrats allegedly avoided, by opening the files, naming those involved, and allowing sunlight to expose the wrongdoing. If we allow either party to ignore this issue, we become part of the problem. The pressing question is, how much longer will we tolerate a system that protects the elite from repercussions while preaching transparency to the rest of us? Justice demands our vigilance and voice. The truth go beyond party lines, unless, of course, there's fear of what it might uncover. Be sure to comment below while dropping a like and subscribing. Until next time.